Well, hello to the good people over the internet. Today we have with us Nishit Arora, the director of Smoke Inc. Well, I wouldn't take any more time. I would let him do the talking. Thank you so much, Nishit, for taking some time out to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on your show. I've been doing some shows in the past during pandemic, so it's nice
Uh-huh.
to be on the other side.
Absolutely fantastic. So, basically, as you know, as all of you know who are listening to this podcast, who are regular listeners, you know there's no script, there's nothing, something's going to happen. I warned Nishit before coming that there's no script or nothing of that sort, but something's going to happen. Well, so would you how like tell us what is Smoke Inc. first and foremost, and how did the idea of building such a thing came up?
Okay, so basically, essentially, broadly speaking, it's an event company. But the idea for smoking happened when. So my background is I used to be a dancer back in the day, and I used to dance, I used to produce, I used to be a DJ, and I could also play music a little bit and all of that, just a little bit of everything. Um, but there was this lack of interesting things happening in the city, and that's when it was a point of frustration where the kind of work that we were getting was not exciting enough. And that's when I thought, okay, let me take a back seat, let me take control of things, let me form a company where I can maybe start looking for work for myself and also for my friends and colleagues and people around me. So the idea stemmed from basically that.
Well, I'm wondering what if all of our frustrations led to such beautiful ideas.
Yeah, of course. I'm actually very grateful and for being able to do this for so long.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess definitely grateful and thankful that I've been able to do this.
Yeah, for sure. And
Mm.
for the people who don't know, Smoke Inc. hosts some of the fantastic concerts ever we witnessed in the city of Georgia, Calcutta, and beyond. So, when did you found this company?
So this was around 2011, 10, 11, that time.
So it's more
Uh,
than a decade now.
yeah. And then, yeah, we started doing a lot of gigs. We started something called The Basement, which happened for a year. Then we launched Jamsteady at Princeton Club, which was in 2012. And then we did our festival around that time in 2015. And then it's been, I think, I mean, obviously, a lot of things you don't plan, you just do. And things just started opening up. And
Ah,
one thing led to another. Uh, and yeah, now we are doing quite a lot of stuff actually,
absolutely.
keeping us busy. Yeah. Mm.
So how does it feel managing all of these? And by the way, how many ventures does come under Smoke Inc.?
So, it sounds like we are like this big enterprise and all, but actually we are a very, very small team. And we like to do things which are in our control. We say no to things which we can't do. Uh, But yeah, as an IP, we have Jamsteady, then we have Calbunka, then we have SmokeSync where we push electronic music. We have Anythings where we push hip hop, R&B, soul. Uh, we manage Mirage Poolside Bar and Cafe. We are partners at Skinny Mo's Jazz Club. We had launched Top Cat CCU. We built it from ground up.
Wow.
Uh, and yeah, and now So Local is coming up. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff, keeps us busy, like I said.
And Top Cat is one of our hubs for concerts and whatnot, conferences to business deals to everything. So how did you like build up? Like, did you think of building all of these from the very start, or it just opened up as you just kept working and working?
Yeah. I think it was more like a very, I would say, organic. And while you're on the journey, different things come to you. And I am a believer on taking chances in life. So
Mhm.
if I found things interesting, I would do it. And one thing led to another. So the reason now we are handling venues is which because we realized while we were doing gigs at different venues as an event company or as promoters, we felt we didn't have a lot of control in the way it was being curated and with marketed. the way we were making connections with the people, what sales were happening. So that's when I thought it's important to deep dive into the business side of things and understand what it takes to be a venue owner, what it takes to create a menu for a concert, what it takes to sell alcohol, what are the kind of people, when you see, when you do a research, you see at a gig how many people are actually spending how much money on alcohol, on food. So the whole economics of things start making sense. And then it starts, I mean, because I realized you would do things for a while and then it would shut down, which is part of life. I have no
Hmm.
problem with that. But I feel when you understand everything from inside out, it just gives you more control. It gives you more access to data, which can help you to do different things, in a more
Mhm.
sustainable fashion. So yeah,
Well, wow.
that's yeah.
So going back to the question, like, how does it feel managing a team and all of these quirky stuff and interesting things going on all the time?
So I really enjoy the process. For me, the process is like super exciting. And this I actually realized when the pandemic hit us and there was nothing. Just before the pandemic, we were doing 8 to 10 gigs a week. We were that busy.
My God.
Yeah. So on a single day, we would do 2, 3 gigs. And
So that
suddenly
was in
there was
Calcutta or beyond?
mostly Calcutta. It's
Okay.
mostly been focused in Calcutta. We would do some Northeast and one-off gigs in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore also. But the focus 90% would be Calcutta. So, and when the pandemic happened, everything was shut and there was nothing happening. And over the period of that, whatever, 3, 4 months, I started realizing how I miss the process, how I miss speaking to musicians, speaking to vendors, speaking to our team, and putting some things together. And so I mean, even though it is hectic, but because I enjoy it so much, it doesn't feel hectic. I'm always like, I'm always in enjoying the whole process. Obviously, there are moments when they get stressful, things don't work according to plan, but yeah, I guess it's part of the deal, you know.
For sure.
So yeah, I really enjoy this. That's why I'm doing this for so long.
Mhm. Absolutely. Um, so you have dealt, you yourself was a, you were a musician, you were a dancer, as you said. So by the time you were a musician and now you see musicians, what is the primal difference you see in terms of making money as a musician, in terms of creating good quality music?
Uh so I just want to clarify. I'm not like a musician. I can play instruments. I could sing a little. So like a jack of all trades kind of a person. Uh, I still DJ as Smoke Signal, which is something I enjoy. But in terms of how things were and now, which I've spoken a lot actually in many different. I think it's because of the internet. Things have changed a lot. um, I think earlier, because it was not so easy to access a gig or a concert, there was no like YouTube or stuff. You would actually have to find your favorite artist. You would borrow cassettes and videotapes from friends, or you would wait for that one show to come whenever on TV. So obviously, the whole excitement for it was completely different. Now, because the access is right on your fingertips, where just like how on a dating app you can do swipe left and right without even thinking so much, I think it's become that. So you hear something for like 5 seconds. If it doesn't hit you, you just move on to something else. You don't give it that time to maybe build up, to go deep into it. So it definitely has changed in terms of the scene also. I feel uh, earlier people would come to concerts with the idea of listening to a band or a musician or whatever, and there would be this collective experience, like where everyone would be in it. Obviously people would be drinking and doing all of that, but there was this whole excitement to watch a band and listen to music and go back with whatever emotions. It could be like you hated it or you loved it or whatever. But now I think it's become more like it's more about going to a gig which is cool, and then you go take a selfie there, and
I was
your
about to
kind
say
of
this.
job. Yeah, yeah. And I've seen that happen because I noticed this a lot. I've seen even in Goa, I see people come to a gig, come to a place where it's a cool place.
So it's a
The whole
band over
audience
there
come.
and a beer, and they're like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah,
cool."
yeah. They'll just come, they'll take pictures, and they'll just go because they've done
Whether
the
they
tick mark.
understand the music, that's a secondary topic. That's a different ball
Yeah, yeah,
game
yeah.
altogether.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think her understanding bit is important. It's about the tick mark. Okay, I was there. I was there at this place, and
Good
then they would
pictures
move
to
on to
post on
another place.
Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So this change has definitely happened because of the internet and how Instagram and all this is so important, become such an important part of our
Uh,
lives. And I don't think we can really change that. We just have to work around it and find interesting ways to communicate with the audience and bring value for people who obviously everyone will not connect with what we are trying to do. But I
mhm.
think if it's done properly, there is an audience which wants to listen to interesting music, wants to
Yeah.
have that experience.
Mm.
So even though it's getting a little more niche, but I think
Uh,
feel India has a massive population, so the niche also can become quite big, you know. So the change is
exactly.
definitely there, definitely there.
And what about in terms of making money as a musician? How has it changed? In what ways? Like, has ways opened up? Like, definitely it has. But what are the kind of the drawbacks? Which, and also I can see that, as you just mentioned, there's a, like, let's be honest, there's a difference between watching a musician perform on YouTube versus experiencing that live, because there's ambience that's going on all the time, and you will not recognize that until and unless you go and observe a band, right?
For sure,
uh,
for sure.
so as internet has democratized everything, anyone can upload songs, a million tracks. Like, I was recently having a conversation with a music director, and he said up till, like, in Spotify every day the count was close to around 60,000 tracks were uploaded in Spotify till 2019 or 20. Right
Okay.
now, I checked the stats, and he said to me it's close to around 100,000 tracks uploaded a day on Spotify. And that's only Spotify. We have 200 more platforms left. So
Yeah,
there's definitely a death of attention span. There's a death of listen to
absolutely.
quality music, because until and unless, like, let's be honest, like, if people heard quality music, there wouldn't be so many views on Bollywood music rather than Indian classical. Like, if you go on,
Yeah,
you already know, you go and watch an Indian classical maestro doing something extraordinarily inhuman. They have
yeah,
25,000 views, a video which is published 12 years ago, and I'm like, what the fuck? I mean,
yeah,
how is the difference? And then I understand this word niche really applies,
yeah,
because there's a saying that quality music listeners are always were always small. They will be small, and they are to be small. They will not
yeah.
grow. Uh,
That's
in
true.
terms of that, what do you think is the money making thing business side of music has affected through internet and all of these?
So again, like you rightly also said that even though it has opened many doors, it has also become a lot more competitive, right? Like
Mhm.
because now, like earlier, if you had to release a song, you would have to find a specialist. You would go to a studio, you would get it recorded. It would be a process. Then you would get it mastered, mixed. Then you would find a way to release it. So it was a big task. And now, like I can sit at home, make a track, and release it on my own. So even though it's opened many doors, it's also become super super competitive, and to find your voice has become much more difficult. uh, so money, I think the struggle for musicians and artists has been there throughout, you know. Throughout, I think the struggle has been there because artists are doing something which drives them with passion. It's a passionate thing that they do music. Obviously they want to make a living out of it, and they want it to be a something, but deep down the satisfaction really comes from doing the art more than anything else.
Oh,
uh, but I personally feel uh, artists who have managed to create a balance between what is commercial and what they want to do for their own for their soul have are doing reasonably well. another thing I feel is a lot of artists want to be the stars. Like everyone wants to reach, become like this big musician and all. I mean, great, but I feel that realization at some level has to happen that, okay, I am good at this or I am good at this. And if once you have that realization, you start working with what you have. And like, today you can work in films, you can make background scores, you can do jingles as and also have a gig performance situation. Especially for an alternative independent musician, the gigs are not paying so much. You're mostly doing, unless you become in the independent space also like a slightly bigger artist. It's a very difficult journey. But you would do like a pub gig or a smaller gig, and the number of gigs that add up. So overall, I think if you're smart, if you have a bent of like having some business and numbers, financial understanding of things, it really helps, and you can have a good life as a musician. But if you are going to depend on artist managers, on venues, on people other than, if you don't take control of things yourself,
Ah,
usually that's where I
it
feel
falls
it
off.
becomes very, very difficult. Yeah. I mean, this is a very general statement. It can always, like, one guy can always shine, but in general, I've seen this, being a pattern. So I would say, if, like, I mean just taking control of your over your things, it is hard. It is hard to make music, produce, and then market and do all of those things. It takes a lot of effort, time. Then you have to do your social media and
Oh,
be
damn.
relevant and all of those things. It's a lot of stuff, but you have to do it. I guess
It's your
there is no other
choice.
way. Yeah, yeah. Either you find a friend who can maybe help you out, but otherwise, if you don't wait for that moment to come, because you have to do it. So just start
DIY.
doing it right now. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Well,
So it's a,
that
it's a
was.
struggle.
Mhm.
It is tough, but I feel if you manage things smartly, you can find a good life with doing music and art.
Um, so I asked this question to a lot of probably every artist.
Hmm.
So, for example, let's consider there's a scale, right? One side is the music, and also there's the other side, which less people talk about. It's the music business,
Yeah.
right? So I was having a conversation with Ritnika, just the founder of MGMH, just
Yeah.
a couple of days back, and she was saying, well, music is music business. You are doing music because you want to make a living out of it. Until and unless you're doing it in your bedroom, you don't really want to put it out. That's fine.
Yep.
So, on a scale of 100, how important is it? Or is it 50-50? Learning music and also learning the music business side of things.
I think it should be given equal importance. It will solve a lot of problems that musicians go through. It's like when we went to school, we were not even told how to manage our finance. It's
Oh,
something you
no.
learn later, unless you do a specialized thing.
Ah, or CA basically.
Yeah, basically, right. So I think for a music learning course also, like you learn music, which should be your main focus, because that's your art, that's your thing. Equal importance should be given to the music's business side of things, how to manage your work and everything. I feel it should be quite equal. That's how, basically, when I was speaking about the balance situation in
Mhm.
your previous question, it's about that. Once you
Mhm.
have an understanding of how the business is run, you have to understand why a venue should book you. You
Ah,
cannot say I
very
am a
important
great
question.
musician. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of great musicians. Just because you're a very good musician does not mean that a venue will book you. And we've seen that. Like, we've seen that at
Ah,
many,
you
many
already have
places.
artists approaching you all the time, like book me, give me a gig, and this and that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. End of the day, for a venue which wants to sustain, which wants to make money,
Of course.
uh, you know, they are looking at as a we want to book an artist and we want to do it regularly, and what is it in for us also. I mean, just having that understanding will make you think slightly differently, you know. You don't have to, you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it, but just having an understanding how that business, like I said, the reason I, from being this programmer of 1 gig to getting deep dive into what even like a menu design, what a dish costs, you know, I've
Mm.
got into that much detail, is because of that, because I wanted to understand why is it that venues are not being able to sustain, why is it that Blue Frog got shut down, why
Blue
is it
frog.
that
Yep.
so many venues open up and get shut down, you know. So this question was kept worrying me, because I was like, I'm doing this, and if this is the pattern, it's not very good, you know. So that's when I feel like, so even though I am in the business side of things, but uh, I consider myself uh, more towards the arts, you know. But I realized working, understanding the business was super important, and I feel all artists should do that. It will really
Exactly.
help you change, you know, plan your things better.
So it's like 50-50. You have to give equal importance to both of them. You have to make good
Yeah,
music. First of all, foremost, like what I personally think as a musician myself is be damn good at your craft. Otherwise, there's no question.
absolutely,
And then you have
absolutely,
to learn that. So another
absolutely.
follow-up question with that is where can uh, a musician learn the business side of things? Because let's consider like in India, we don't get encouragement from our home to like jao music pursue kar lo. No,
Yeah,
we like our doctors pursue kar lo, CA ban jao, engineer ban jao. So
yeah,
like we have institutes for learning accountancy, we have numbers lying here and there. Where do we actually
yeah,
go? Like not even an institution, because right now knowledge is also free. You can go to YouTube and study, but there's also no abundance of crappy content lying around. People, so-called gurus, teaching you shit all the time, right?
yeah.
So where can someone
Absolutely.
learn? What is the process of learning? Like, let's consider a musician wants to learn. Okay, I am very good at my craft. I've created an album. I've created 2 3 albums. I've kind of marketed it to some extent, but I really want to make money because I have to pay my bills. Wi-Fi nahi chalega, so I can't upload videos on YouTube. As simple as
Yeah.
that. Where can people learn that?
So obviously, I mean, you can find, like you said, stuff on in the internet, but there's no better learning than getting your hands dirty.
Ah.
I always tell musicians and artists, bands, when they come to me, like they say, okay, can you hook us a gig for us? I said, okay,
So
I'll
wait.
fix.
Sorry for interrupting. Is this the most common question you get from artists?
I mean, because I manage venues and do
Mhm.
gigs, so it is pretty common. And on a daily basis, I get many mails and WhatsApp messages and calls for this. Uh, and you know, and the one answer which I've kept saying was that, you know, I'll can give you 1 gig. I still am not like doing thousands of gigs, or it's not possible humanly for someone to do it. I'll fix 1 gig, but what happens after that, right?
हाँ.
Mine, the
उसके बाद
next
कहाँ
gig I
जाओगे?
probably will give you six after 6 months, probably, or 4 months. But that's not good enough, right? So, like to answer your question, where people can, where artists can learn is just like I was saying, you have to get deep into the business side of things. Organize your own gig. Take up a terrace, book a take up a friend's living room, get the music, like set up a system, get people in, do some ticketing, market, get understand what goes behind organizing it, also play as a musician. You will, if you start doing 3 4 of those, it's a great way to build your own fan base, right? B, you start understanding the pain point of what it takes to, you know, run a gig. Why is it important that the ticket selling is important? Why do I not get booked? You'll all getting answers for all these questions
So the
while you're
finger will
doing
turn
this.
inwards.
Yeah, and actually this is such a, I feel this is such a great way of building a scene, that imagine if so many musicians in our city, obviously everyone can't do it, but they form these small groups, and everyone starts doing this in different places, at a friend's
Ah.
terrace, at a park, at your living room. it's your birthday, man. Can I come and
Gigs
play a
happening
gig
all
at your?
around.
Yeah, why should we listen to Spotify? Come, it's your fucking birthday party. I'll get my band and we'll do some great music. So imagine the effect that can have over
Hmm.
time, you know. So instead of going to institutes and all, which is great, which gives you this really deep theory and learning, I feel just get your hands dirty. You'll maybe make losses. You'll first gig, maybe you lose 10,000 rupees and you'll be like, oh my god, what did I do? But that gives you so much learning that for
Hmm.
the next steps that you take will be much, 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 much more calculated and better.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
this is what I feel. This is what I feel is the best way to learn and get into the business side of things.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, according to, is there any online platform musicians can go, one, two, or three websites or platforms where there are blogs about the music industry, whether you want to, also there are segments in music industry right now, Indian, Bollywood, film, non-film, independent, so many segments. Is there a platform for artists, which probably artists don't know because they didn't get to know, or they don't know that such a thing exists? Their only idea of learning is through institutes and whatnot.
I am not very aware of a platform, to be honest. There are
Mm-hmm.
like Ritika and all are doing workshops and all on
Mm-hmm.
business. So there are some people like that. You can definitely reach out to them. But similar stuff you can get on the internet. Like if you want to learn, there is no dearth to learning, right?
Uh-huh.
But my point is the thing that happens with the internet is also it takes you into this deep hole of uh, just learning in the sense you just think you are learning something
So
because
theoretical
obviously
knowledge, no practical application.
yeah, exactly, because it gives you this idea of information. Oh yeah, this is what we should do. Oh yes, it's all great, but unless you apply it practically and don't get your hands dirty, don't get a kick in your bum, you will not feel it. You will not feel it. You will not feel if someone loses money on YouTube, some third person, you will not feel the pain. But when
Hmm.
I lose money, I will be like, oh man, damn, what should I do to fix this? That
Uh,
it doesn't happen again.
hmm.
So I feel this is, I mean, even though there are platforms you should learn, you should check out, but I mean, I've been repeating this wherever I speak that let's like don't depend on one Jamsteady or one Skinny Mode or this venue or one whatever someplace else. They are there, but make your own gigs. That's what is required.
Exactly. Well, um,
Like whale in the pond, either these guys do the park life and all, which is
I just had a
imagine.
conversation with them.
Yeah, I know. Like
Pretty
imagine
interesting.
like yeah, they are very cool. Like that's
Hmm.
exactly what I'm saying. Like imagine. And I'm sure they're also losing their hair putting things together because organizing is a different ball game, and especially when
Hmm.
you are a musician. But but I know they will understand the business side of it more, but doing things, and they will, and if they are interested, obviously that will help them to develop more things in the future. So imagine like more such things were happening like park life, many of them. It'll be a fucking scene, man.
Absolutely. What's your take on the independent music scene of India?
Uh Take as in, so there have been, I would say it's an interesting space because there
Hmm.
have been some uh, I mean it's always debatable and all that, but some artists who were small and have suddenly become very big, and they are almost as big as a Bollywood artist, like say
Oh.
Pratik Kuhar or a Divine, they're charging equally as much as a big Bollywood artist. So that is very interesting, definitely, to see that, to see that happening in our world. They're getting booked as headliners and big things. But on the other side, of course, there are many musicians who are still finding it difficult to find that spot, to even make a mark. So I mean, I feel because also India is such a diverse country, um, and we are still like when the hip hop scene had started, and the people who were doing hip hop were getting frustrated because the audience was not being able to accept it. But why? How? I mean, culturally, we were not born with it. It didn't come out from our roots. So if it needs that time to become part of a counterculture and slowly start evolve and make a shape of its own. So I feel India is in that space right now where there are some big things happening in the for musicians, but a lot of people are still struggling to find a voice. So hopefully, with more things happening, we definitely need more venues in the country, you know,
Mm.
because there are hardly any venues now, which I feel is a
And
big problem.
personally, I think more music institutes, man,
More
please.
those institutes definitely, which there are a few definitely, but yeah,
Mhm.
more
Mm.
institutes, more venues, more promoters, more people who believe in this and push it. Like in the independent rock happened. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, fantastic.
it,
Just
yeah, it was like I mean like we've seen so many festivals happen in India. This made me so happy. Like I mean, like I couldn't go because I had my own gigs and all going on. But I was like, wow, man, this is so good. This is so amazing. This is what needs to happen. People were saying rock is dead and all that shit. But look at this. Like these guys fucking nailed it. So
absolutely.
so yeah, it is an interesting space. I feel promoters, venues, people like us, you, me, artists, everyone needs to come together and keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing.
Keep walking because it's like solution equals to magnitude, all of that
Yeah, yeah.
calculation shit.
End of the day, an audience, especially now, they need value in like why should they come to your gig? Is a question you need to answer. You know, you cannot say because I'm good you should come. So I think you need to go a little more deep into that. Like why should someone leave their house now when they have Instagram, they have YouTube, they have so many distractions? Why should they come to a gig? I mean, we will say
What
you
is
should come.
special in my music?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's special. Musicians will feel special. You will think it's special, but you have to also think it from their point of view.
Exactly.
So we have to bring that value again. Earlier, there were not too many things. There were not too many distractions. So going to a gig was like, wow, this is an experience I can't miss. Now it just takes them 5 seconds to just be like, oh man, I want to go for this gig. So like, fuck it, man. Let's just chill at home. It's that decision is just like that. So that bringing that value and an understanding why someone should come to your gig is something we need to all start answering. It will just help us all.
Wow, that's a fantastic answer. So, what do you think? In the near future, will there be a death of live concerts? People will be enjoying from
No, no,
home.
no. There will be this whole online, which is in the
So, will it
gaming world,
come
it's
to a
called.
certain state of balance?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think live music will only thrive, will only become bigger, will become more interesting. There'll be a lot of technology that will get mixed into live performances. Experiences will become different, but it will still be live music in some form or the other. And I feel even now, like we were saying, the world, the internet is not very old. It's just whatever 10, 15 years old when everyone has started using it. So it's still such a new thing for all of us that we're still trying to figure out what it is. We are hearing of people who are Facebook was a thing. Now people don't care about Facebook. Instagram already people are like, I'm hearing, especially outside India, there's another platform. I think it's called, I'm forgetting the name. Where they're moving away from Instagram and they're going into another platform because they feel Instagram is shit. So I think we are
Snapchat is
still,
dead.
Snapchat has a very again niche community and it has some random content happening. But I feel it is just that we got bombarded by all these social media da 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 things. We don't know how to handle it, right? So I think we'll come to a point like, imagine now in 2022, vinyl sales have gone up
Ah,
last few
ah.
years,
And
which
that's
is so
astonishing.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because cassettes died, were dead, and you would think vinyls. Who would care for vinyls? Like,
There are
but
people
suddenly,
who actually, and
yeah,
there's actually a love against all of
it's a
those
market.
physical.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
People are taking this as a serious business thing. There are vinyl shops in Delhi. There are vinyl shops in Bombay. People have a regular shops where you can go look around. So the point being, these things will become, and live music and arts will become even more special, I feel, going forward. It is just about how art is always about pushing the boundaries, right? So the job for art needs to be always that you always keep pushing your boundaries, and people will always come back to it for that intellectual excitement, for that thing which they don't get from their daily lives. So I feel art music is here to stay and only going to become more relevant and more important going forward. It'll
wow.
obviously change forms. It'll only change forms and different things will happen.
We artists and musicians also have to adapt to that new
We
change.
have to,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
we'll be irrelevant in a couple of minutes, I guess. No.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that brings me to the last probably question. Then I'll set you free. Otherwise, you'll probably beat me up. Um,
No, no, I cannot through the screen, but yeah.
no, when you visit Calcutta, he's like, "तुमने तुम ही थे ना वो?" Okay. Um, Three tips for artists across all segments, forward slash categories.
Three tips.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if these are tips to be honest, because I
Mm-hmm.
think we are all learning.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've said this in during the course of our chat also. Like, don't wait for anything to happen. You make, obviously, your first focus is make your music, be very good at it. No shortcuts in that. But the second is, you take charge of your work. Don't let a venue decide, or a promoter decide, or a manager decide what needs to happen to your work. You get an understanding of the business. So this would be a tip which we've again repeating from our conversation. Understand the business side of things and take control of your art. Don't wait for things to happen. Make sure it happens by doing things, even if it's small, even if it's for 40 people in a room or 30 people in a room. But do that and keep doing that. It just opens up many, 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 many doors. So I think this is definitely a tip I would uh, one of the tips. Second, I think do art, like for artists, musicians. For me personally, I've always enjoyed musicians who keep pushing boundaries, even though, like, for the to sustain, to be commercially relevant, we do things which are mainstream, not extremely mainstream, I would say, but still we try to do things which are more crowd pleasing and this and that. uh, I'm actually very bad at giving tips, to be honest, when it comes to really pointing on particular things. I feel one another thing is to really connecting with your audience, especially for musicians who are starting out. I've seen musicians who would make piece of art, put it on whatever Spotify, or just put it out through, or just play it on Instagram or something like that, and they would definitely connect with a few people, but there's no follow up after that. I mean, so building that relationship, in your early days, goes a long way. Don't expect that I have made music and now people should just listen. I mean, there, like you said, there are some, how many million songs being uploaded on Spotify each day?
100,000 a day.
100,000 a day. So it's, I mean, don't fool yourself. Like, you are one in a million who wants to be heard. So make those connections and make real connections, with people through whatever means you can. Now, making, like, reaching out to people is not so difficult, right? So make those real connections. uh, that really helps, I would say. you know and yeah, and I feel just like any other work, this work, starts giving you results. Actually, sometimes it takes many, many years. But having that clear vision towards your goal and working towards it without getting distracted, you will see results. I feel if anything is done with consistency and taking in your stride the good days and the bad days and the falls and the ups and all that, there'll be one great gig and there'll be three bad gigs. Doesn't matter, but you made maybe five real connections at that gig. That's what you should look at. So it's a slow process. You have to be patient. So don't lose that hope on that. Keep focusing, and I would also say have another side income so that your art doesn't get compromised. I know. I mean, in an ideal world, you should only be doing your art, and that's what it is. But we don't live in an ideal world. So have something that doesn't put pressure on.
Paradox.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is something, if once you know, it could be something related to music. You could be doing background score, making jingles, da da da. So many other avenues around that, or ghost producing for another person. Doesn't matter. If someone's paying you, do it. Or maybe doing a wedding gig as a small, if it's paying you a lot of money. So, uh, so this would be my third tip, that have your focus very clear, but also have your financial and something which helps you sustain, in the long run, to be able to reach your goal. Let the money not become a pressure on you, so that you can't do this at all. That will be really frustrating and heartbreaking. So
That's kind of
from day one,
also difficult to like continue if you have all of those financial
yeah,
pressures all the time.
exactly, because
And
you
as
have
artists,
pressure.
we have this prevailing problem all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen musicians who have been able to create that balance, are much more clear, are much more sorted. They're being able to do music that they really love, because there is no pressure to make, you know, uh, this is my art, this is what I do, and this is my art and my emotion that I have put into this piece of music or art. Whereas I have another thing which brings me money. Now, over the time, if this becomes your main thing,
Leave
that's
that and do
that's
this.
amazing. Yeah, amazing. So I would say these things mostly interrelated with each other, but
Hmm.
yeah, build connections, work on your craft, very very hard, understand the business side of things, and also have a side hustle to be able to balance your music and finances.
Golden tips for all of us. Well, with
Huh.
that, we come to an end. Thank you so much once again from the bottom of my heart for joining. It means a lot.
No, no.
Keep doing
Thank you
epic
so much
shit
for having me.
from keep doing epic shit from smoking. Huh?
Thank you. And yeah,
And
I mean, y'all should also, I'm really excited to see what you guys have been doing. I want to see
yep,
more of this,
yep,
and
yep.
any support, any collaboration y'all are looking at, always ready for it.
Yes,
So
yes, for
hit me
sure.
up.
Yep,
Yeah. And
absolutely. I'll
also,
disturb you. Don't worry.
I'm gonna plug in Soul Local that we're doing on the
Uh-huh.
24th and 25th. It's
Yep,
the
yep.
biggest festival that's happening, homegrown in the truest form, where
Mm-hmm.
90% of the lineup is local, and we have one artist coming from outside. Usually it's the other way around, but we've kept it purely local. So and we are expecting a lot of people to come.
Yep,
So
yep.
yeah, I hope to
Please check
see
the
everyone
description
there.
out. People who are watching this, check the description out. You'll get every link possible. Go buy tickets, support artists, not from the Calcutta or City of Joy, across the entire world, I would say. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much and have a great week ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye bye.